you wanted to discuss about the recent announcement about Sony. Well, Sony's announcing that in January of 2028, there will no longer be any disk drive. Well, not necessarily any disk drive. They will not be producing any more disks, um, which strongly suggests that the PlayStation 6 won't have a disk drive.
Strongly suggests is a
Strongly suggests
mild understatement.
So they won't be making any more discs. So that means that if you want to purchase any games, then you'll either have to buy it from their PlayStation store or buy it from a retail store, but you will get a digital code. There will be no physical disc in the case. It will just be a digital code from that period onwards.
Okay. I'll be honest. I think I knew that, but I'd forgotten that. So if you want, like if a grandparent was going to buy it as a present at Christmas, they can go and get a code.
The reason why there's been a lot of backlash is that so you buy the game from a retail store, you've basically used that code and that's it. It's tied to your account. So there won't be any secondhand market where you can essentially resell that game or give it to a friend to borrow. You're basically buying that game, and that game is yours. Essentially, it's locked to your account, so you can't just say, "Okay, I want to give this to another person." So in that aspect, it's not great. In the UK currently, there's not really any gaming stores other than CEX. There is a game store, but that's in like a sportswear
Sports
store.
Direct.
Yeah,
Sports Direct.
so in the UK, we used to have like Game Station and Game,
and local independent places.
Yeah, local independent places. But now Game Station's gone. Game is basically they're inside a sports in a sports store, like a tiny little corner in a sports store. So in that aspect, there's nowhere to actually buy any new games anyway. So well, there's I suppose you can get it from HMV, but
at the moment it's HMV, Argos, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Amazon, those sorts of places. So now I'm not the target audience that is devastated by this news. All of my purchases of all games in the last 10 to 15 years have been digital. So I'm not the best person to kind of talk about this in a weird way. And I say that in the sense of I don't like the downsides that come with physical games, and I don't necessarily understand the upsides because I just don't partake in those. But
can I go through the upside?
No. What at the same time, what I do like is people having the choice. I like choosing to have digital only games and not having the resale value and all that jazz. And I do still agree that it is bad to completely remove disc-based media or physical media, because obviously you include Nintendo Switch their cartridges, but I still think that those should exist because I think that we should have the choice. There is a flip side where there is a world where that could exist, if that makes sense, and we'll go through that later on. There's two things I can think of, but ultimately, I'm not pleased with this news. I'm not surprised by this news, and I will say I'm not really affected by this news.
Well, you're not affected by it because you accepted the risk involved with digital media, where the other announcement was that they're going to discontinue the PlayStation Store and the PlayStation Vita Store. So if you would need to purchase the games that you want to purchase, and if you don't do it by a certain date, that's it. You game over. Like you can't. The only way to get there's two ways of doing it. After that, it will be you have to find a physical copy, which might be hard because there might be just rare variants of a game, and it might be very expensive. Or probably the route that everyone's going to probably do is probably just jailbreak their console and get it illegally. So that means like downloading illegal ROMs off the internet and putting it on the PS3.
But I mean, one thing I will say against that is it's not just PlayStation as a platform doing that, because Forza Horizon 6 has just come out. I think you can still buy 5, but Forza Horizon 4 has been delisted from Steam and from Xbox, and you can't purchase a new license for that game at the moment anymore. Like, I can still play my version that's in my library. I can't get it new, and I only own it on Steam. I don't own it on the Xbox, even though I have save games from Xbox Game Pass. I suppose I can't actually access that save file at all now, unless I go out and find a disc version of Forza Horizon 4 and hope that I can put my Game Pass into a purchase copy, which I'm sure you can, but like, this is already happening both from game platforms, but also at the publisher or studio level as well, where digital games are being you can no longer buy them. And the Forza Horizon 4 is a bit more egregious because you just can't buy the game at all. But Bethesda have done it with, I think you can't buy Skyrim. You can only buy the fancy version of Skyrim. GTA 5, you can only buy the enhanced. You can't buy the legacy version. And in those, you're like, what's the harm? You're just going to buy the newest version that's got all of the new graphic enhancements and all that jazz. But if your friends are all playing a multiplayer game that's on the legacy version of GTA 5 online, and you can only buy the enhanced, well, you can't join them without them having to all of them spending money to join you, or vice versa. So there's like edge cases that might keep coming up, will affect things it just in weird ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Convince me the upsides of the physical media.
Yeah, so they're going to get rid of the PlayStation Store. They have said that you will be able to still download the games that you have purchased. So if you've purchased a game and you don't have it on your hard drive, you can still re-download that game, which is good, but you don't know how long they're going to continue that. They might shut that off at some point and say, well, you've had time to, imagine if you've got hundreds of games you've purchased and then you're unable to fit it all onto a hard drive. You've just basically wasted your money. That money that the games that you've paid for, be gone. If you don't get there in time to download these games, then right now you are able to re-download it. They're saying that there will be a grace period where you can re-download the games once purchased, but I don't think they're going to keep that option forever. They're going to shut that off as well.
What context are you talking about this? Because obviously that's the opposite of getting rid of physical media. So you're talking 10 years' time when they close down the PS5 store because it's the PSA. Is that sort of what you're anticipating?
Yeah, so that's my worry, is that essentially when the PlayStation 6 comes out, which we know now is all digital console, there's no physical drive, there's no physical disc. My worry would be that the game that I've purchased, and like you said, like the variants of the game, they could say, oh, there's a PlayStation 8 and The Last of Us Part 3 is on PlayStation 6. You bought The Last of Us Part 3 on PlayStation 6, but you can no longer play that game. We're no longer supporting it, and if you don't download it in time, then but don't worry, there will be like an updated version that you can play on your PlayStation 7. It's like, why should I fork out more money just to play that version when I already have this version that I previously played? I should be able to get my old console out, stick it and be able to play it. I can go to a PlayStation 1, I could go to a PlayStation 2, I can physically put the disc in that console and it will still work. It won't say because the service was unavailable and you didn't download it in time, you're unable to play that game now.
But I see that argument isn't necessarily in favor of physical media. That argument is in favor of offline media, which I think is slightly different.
Yeah, so that's like the stop killing games.
Yeah, it's like, I do think there are some games that you can buy as a physical disc that still require online activation. And that's the reason why I've never been interested in bothering with physical media, because if you still need online activation, whether it's once every 30 days, constant, I just at that point just go with digital. But the difference between a PlayStation 1, 2, potentially 3 versus 4 and 5 is that offline availability is probably the best way to describe it, where you can put a PlayStation game into a PlayStation 1 and it will play because it doesn't care what the day is. It's not like there are some, I'm going to go completely off rail, but if you try to install a 10-year-old operating system on a Mac, it absolutely refuses to install it because it's outside of there's a security token and it expired in 2017. So you have to set the date before 2017 to install the operating system. And it's almost a similar sort of thing, whereas like the PlayStation, it doesn't care what the date or time is because the license on the game isn't time based, or it's not internet based, so it doesn't need to know about the time. Whereas if you want to play Red Dead on the PS4 or later, put the game in. But if you don't have internet access on that PlayStation 4, on day one or when Red Dead 2 first came out, can you actually play that game? Or do you have to see the internet just to verify something? And then that is then becoming a different conversation. And I know not every game on the PlayStation 4 and not every game on the PlayStation 5 does online activation. I think there's some studios like Activision, Battlefield, or whatever. Some are worse than others, but that's the difference that I feel with the sort of like the retro gaming and the modern gaming.
I understand your point. So what you're saying is like where is the activation? And I think specifically like PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, I think a lot of the games weren't on the disc. So that if you didn't have the internet, you're basically it wouldn't be able to play. There was some guy did some tests where he just basically put the game in and it said, okay, you need internet to download the rest of these files in order to play. All the disc is just it was just a confirmation that okay, you have the game. It will just unlock it.
It's almost like biometric authentication. It's proof that you have the license almost, and then it allows you to then download it. That isn't a reason to dismiss physical media. Well, that's not a reason for everyone to dismiss it. That's a reason that I dismiss it. And I think that's fine to make on a personal level. Like the other reason I don't do physical media is just because of how much space it takes. I don't have that much space. We take our consoles away with us when we go on holiday in the UK. So I like having the games on the console. So it's like there's like 2 or 3 benefits that I get for having them digital that you don't when they're physical. Again, that's a choice that I've made, and I think that's a choice that people should be able to make.
The only other worry I would have then is instead of actual physical, like yourself, like it's annoying to bring like discs and stuff like that, having it in storage. But then you got to remember, if half the game is on the disc and half of it you have to download, in this future that Sony is recommending, the whole game would have to be downloaded and then put onto your hard drive. So that will, especially with RAM, like the Ramageddon, what's going on, SSD prices are going to be insane. So I don't suspect that's going to be a big. I don't think it's going to be a big SSD.
Yeah, and this is the problem. It's like they're going to drop the drive to save on money, but are they going to increase the storage? So like the PS5 came with 825 gigs of SSD. I don't know how much the Slim had, but the PS5 Pro comes with 2 terabytes, and it already costs an arm and a leg. Realistically, the PS6 needs to come with like 4 terabytes, or it needs to come with a lot of storage.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
You're probably, if you're going to have like a 2 terabyte drive in there, 4 terabyte drive, you're talking like maybe like 1,500 quid. That's not going to happen. But that's another problem where what will happen is for, we live in the UK, our internet speed is okay. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. But in some places where internet speed isn't great, that means they would have to.
This is not.
Well,
no. I disagree with this argument.
Well, they would have
It's
to.
it's a false fallacy.
Well, no, it's not because they would have to. Because we just talked about storage, about having not enough storage to have the games. So you could probably get like 1 or 2 games, and then you got to install updates, right? So if you remove the games as well as the updates, and then you want to play that game again later, that means that they would have to install like 150 odd gig game plus a 70 gig update. That could take them all afternoon just to do that. So how is that not a problem?
We've been living through this already for 15, 20 years. And this is like, that isn't PlayStation's problem. It's not, they're not causing it. And also, it's not that big of a problem. I have downloaded massive games on not very good broadband. My parents' place, when I lived there, the broadband was something, there was something wrong with the broadband. So the broadband connection was about 30 meg download, and I was downloading GTA 5, Just Cause 4. I was downloading games that were 50 to 100 gigabytes, and you just manage it. That's not a problem. You just set the download up like when you're at work or overnight or something. It's like, especially with consoles having like their standby mode, like people talking about Australia not having very good internet, and I'm like, it's not a problem. I've downloaded tens to hundreds of gigabytes over slow networks. You just do it slowly over a long time. And as long as you're not downloading a single file, the console is downloading it in chunks, and it can retry if if a file drops, it can redo the last 5 to 10 gigabytes. It genuinely is not a problem. You just have to wait. And the reason I say that's not a problem is because if you're installing from a disk, it's not like you're going to be installing it that much quicker. Disk to hard drive, not very fast at all. Disk to SSD, quicker, but still not great. The read speed of an optical drive is not that great, and is probably quicker to install, to download the entire game from the internet for the majority of people. And there's very few people who would really benefit from having most of the game come from the disk versus online anyway. It's a reason people keep bringing up, and it's just not a problem that I think is valid, because I'm someone who has lived through this and I had no problem with it. And when I say I lived through it, I've lived through slow internet, and B, being digital only, that meant I download 100% of the game over the internet, not 30% or 50%. So I used to have slow broadband, and I did everything. And you know what I did? When I was on the narrowboat for the first 2 years, our broadband was really bad, like 15 to 20 megabit download. And this was a 5G or 4G connection, so not a wired broadband. It was like mobile phone signal. And what I had to do is I had to do what you will have to do. You have an external hard drive, like a spinning hard drive, like 4 terabytes, and you just offload your games onto that and store them locally. There are easy solutions to that problem that
Yeah, so that's annoying though, but that's annoying because that hard drive is not fast enough
But
for the
what's
SSD.
the important thing is, I think there are two things that we can do in law and legislation, and that's not one of them. That's a technical issue, not a legal issue. And I think the biggest issue that needs to be tackled is the legal issue around this. So legally, digital downloads must be resellable. So you're talking about the used game market, and for people who buy a disc and then they sell it, and they essentially, let's say you buy GTA 6 and you buy the Ultimate Edition for £100, £90, right? Play it for 2 weeks. You go to CX and you sell it to CX for £75. You've paid 15 quid for GTA 6. I get that argument. I get why people want to do that. So the digital market needs to shift, and they're not going to do it until they're told to do it. So it needs to shift so that you can buy a code and you sell a code. You sell a code to CX, and they buy it at the same price they would physical media, then they sell it for the same price they would physical media. In fact, Tommy, I actually listened to one of our earlier episodes while I was driving in my van, and I think I'm actually repeating something I said back then. Literally, we were talking about where the code would be. It would just like you would sell your 25 product key. Like there would be more to it, because obviously you can't just have that. There'd have to be the static key and like a fungible token that transfers with it. Like, it's not just going to be buying and selling a product key or a single activation, but there has to be something that is buyable and sellable that will keep the quote unquote used gaming market alive. And then the other sort of like legislation thing, and is already happening, is Apple and Google are being hit with the Digital Marketing Act. If Sony get rid of physical sales, then they should get hit by the same EU law and similar laws that are propping up all over the world, so that they have to allow third-party stores on their platform. So look at PC. You can buy Witcher from GOG, you can buy it from Steam, you can maybe buy it from the Xbox Game Store. So on the PC, you can buy from 3 places. That's great. On the Xbox, you can only buy it from one place, and that is Xbox Game Store. On PlayStation, you can buy it from one place, and that is the PlayStation Store. Currently, you can go to Argos, you can go to Sainsbury's, and you can buy the physical version, and they can do price comparisons to each other, not to the online store, but they can do some kind of deal with the physical media. And that's what the Digital Marketing Act is trying, and I'm not going to say it's succeeding in it, but it's trying to encourage on platforms such as the iPhone and Android. So I think that needs to come to game consoles as well.
Well, that's you just touched on a bit of a worry, is that if you were to go and get, like, I think someone looked up on like Resident Evil Requiem, you could probably get like a physical copy for like £35, maybe £40. But then if you get it from the PlayStation Store, it's going to be £59. So there's two things I'm going to say about reselling to like the CEX or the secondhand market, stuff like that, is that, or even buying from the game stores, is that people look at it and think the reason why they went to the game store to go and get the game is that they were getting a physical disc, and you get more entitlement with it. But now if you're just going to the store and you're buying the game and all you're getting is a digital code, people will just look at it and think, well, if it's like £55 on PlayStation Store and it's £50 on Argos, I just pick it up on the Sony store. I don't mind paying an extra £5 because then I can access it here and now, and that means I don't have to go out, use my car.
I was going to say it's not more expensive on the PlayStation Store, because you go to Argos, you got to pay to get there in petrol or bus or whatever. You might have to pay parking,
or just your time,
and your time. So it has to be a significant discount to be worth it. Yeah.
That's why I can see it all just dying, that aspect, because it would be like, what's the point? If all I'm getting is a digital code, I might as well just stay in my house and just say, yeah, okay, take my money. And that's when it becomes like a monopoly, because they have.
But when I say buy and sell digital codes, I don't mean buy and sell the codes you get from Argos. I mean the codes you get from Sony as well. So you go to the Sony store, buy GTA 6 for £90. You can then go to Sony, or you can go to CX, or you can go to another reseller, and there would be a mechanism to transfer that license to the reseller for £85 or £75.
Yeah, so you're saying like when Steam,
like Steam gifting, I guess.
Yeah, Steam gifting, when you get like a code, I suppose. Yeah, that market. What I heard is that Microsoft, they might have a solution to, because the other issue is, say if you got all your games are like physical format, and the PlayStation 6 is backwards. Say if it's backwards compatible with PlayStation 5. So if you've got all your digital PlayStation 5 games, they should all work on PlayStation 6. But unfortunately, with a PlayStation, if you've got a physical form copy of a PlayStation 5 game, that's obviously not going to work on a PlayStation 6 because there's no disk drive. I heard what Microsoft are saying is that every disk that they sold has a unique identifier on the disk. And what they might propose, or sounds like the rumor is going around, is that somehow you could digitize your game So I'm not sure if like you put that in an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X, or you need to buy like an external drive just specifically just to take your game, your physical game, put it into this into the drive, and it will say, okay, now this is the digital form of this game, so you won't need that disc anymore. But then the beauty is you can then still sell that disc to someone or sell it to CEX.
So that would be illegal.
How would it though? Because what? No, but what happens is
it is it. So
no, let me finish. Let me finish. So if they sell it to CEX and then they put it into an Xbox console that is not your home console, then that digital game gets removed from your library.
Ah, right. Okay.
So that's the thing. But you could sell it to CEX and then say if they never sell that game and never put it in an Xbox console, you could still play it. So, but that's probably unlikely. But
right. No, that makes more sense. So there can only be one version of the game, either the physical or the digital copy.
And I suppose if you put it into your Xbox, it will still work because it's your home Xbox. It's recognized and it's like, okay, the IDs match. But then if you put it into another console that's not, because I think Xbox has this thing where
it then reverts it back.
Yeah. So if it's not, I'm guessing if it's not your home console, the Xbox home console, it's going to say, "Well, this is not your Xbox. We're going to take it out of your library."
Yeah. So I suppose, but that's something you would have to do before on your current generation before you get rid of it. So that's like planning you'd have to do.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if they do that on the Series X or they're going to make you pay 150 quid just to digitize your games, which would kind of suck. But at least they're offering a solution where Sony are just like, yeah, those games you bought before, you're going to have to just buy them again, but you're going to have to buy them digitally if you want to play them. Or the problem is there's no proof that you own those games, because before it was like, say like The Last of Us Part 2 or something, you own on PS4, and then you put the disc in and it says, okay, you have Last of Us Part 2. Would you like to upgrade for £10 to the new version, the PS5 version? And you're like, okay, great, yeah. So you do that, and then you get a digital version of the PS5 version for 10 quid. But because there's no disc, you won't be able to do that. There won't be an upgrade. It'll be like, well, you didn't buy the digital version before. You just got a physical copy. It's your problem, not our problem. So that sucks. That sucks.
Do you know something? We've spoken about like what we like, what we don't like about what's going on. And when I say we, I mean I've said what I like, and you've said what you don't like. Have we even spoken about the merits of why Sony might think this is a good idea? Like, can we devil's advocate and say, oh, we can assstand why they're doing this, or are we just all doom and gloom, money grabbing assholes?
I still got one more point that I'd like to raise, is that I don't know if you heard about the movie and TV situation with Sony.
Yeah, there was another 100 movies or something.
So there was 100 movies that got delisted from the store. So if you purchased those, I think it's like they lost the license for Studio Canal. You bought those movies and then they've been delisted. So that means it's been taken away from the store. And it's like, oh, can I have a refund for that then? No.
And again, this is all the sort of thing that needs to be, like, I know we quote unquote agree to it when we buy the movie, but the thing is,
you're buying a license, not the actual.
This is the thing. We buy the movie, not rent it. If they said we rent you this movie indefinitely until licenses expire, that's different. That is setting expectation. What they're saying the language that they use on the purchase, I don't think is appropriate if the license can expire between PlayStation and Studio Canal. So again, I think that laws and legislation needs to come in. And I know I keep saying that, and I've said that in a few episodes now, but I think we're at a point where between things like the DMA and all the different countries doing their own thing about this, there could be a snowball effect where issues like this, it's not going to happen all at once, and it's not going to happen very quickly. It might take 10, 15, 20 years. But I do think you shouldn't be allowed to buy a movie in that, if that makes sense. So it's like you either rent it long term for $9.99, you rent it for 48 hours for $3.49, or you buy the movie, and that comes with a guarantee that you can access that for as long as your account is active. So I think I think the issue is not because they have made it clear to us in the terms and conditions that we have not read that this is possible. But on the screen, when you go to buy Barbie or Oppenheimer, it says buy. And that sets expectations that Sony have told us that they are not willing to adhere to. So that language needs to change. It needs to. I'm at the point now that I don't buy movies. I do rent for a similar sort of reason, because I just don't expect to be able to access those movies going forward. So I'm like, okay, £3.50. I'll have it for 48 hours. There's just no point in even contemplating the fact of trying to quote unquote purchase a movie, because it's not going to be there, especially from Sony of all people. Like, maybe if it was Apple, like on the iTunes store, I might have a little bit more faith, because Apple have got all the money in the world to buy all the licensing agreements. Again, they might just turn around and say, no, Studio Canal, your current licensing contract is too expensive for us. And they'll drop them just as Sony has. So don't buy movies, rent them instead, or buy them on DVD and put them in your Plex library.
The other one, which is very unlikely to happen, it's only happened a few times in gaming where stuff has been banned. I can remember GTA San Andreas was first reviewed and then released, and then there was some inappropriate content that was later discovered. So then that means it was taken out, and you could no longer buy it until they could take out the content and reissue the game.
And the thing is, that content wasn't in the game. It was leftover code that happened to exist on the disc. It was completely inaccessible. The people who well, it's completely pointless, because the game is 18 rated anyway. So the people who would be affected by it in a negative sense aren't old enough to play the game. But that's one layer upon the fact that they can't access it anyway. So they're just people who are mad with power.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Like, you don't know if anything could be, if there's a game that you like and it's like, okay, I like this game, but then at some point something happens where people object to a certain material, and then they have the right to remove it from their store. They can delist it. But then if you had the physical copy in the first place, that would never happen. But it's very rare. I remember there was a game on Steam. It was like a game where you just go around killing people. Gabe Newell. People were telling him, you need to remove this from Steam, and they might removed it. But then there was a huge backlash saying, you can't remove it. This is not right. You shouldn't. And then they put it back up after like 24 hours. Yeah, it's one of those things. You don't have a right, I suppose. And if it gets delisted, I don't know if you're allowed to play it as well. So if it's no longer available, it'll just say no longer available to play, and you're like, yeah, okay, but I purchased this game. I don't know what your right is.
That comes down to, again, all the different layers. So you can delist a game, so no more purchases, but current purchases can still run the game, or you can nuke the game so that it cannot launch. So like, I know, again, Apple, I'll always refer to Apple, but Apple do a similar thing where they control the platform more than Windows does. And if let's say 7-Zip, which is not a Mac app, but let's just say 7-Zip is on the Mac, if a version of 7-Zip gets malware inserted into it, Apple can, in the background, outside of software updates and antivirus updates, can send out a update to all Macs, and it will completely lock out that version of 7-Zip from running to prevent the malware from infecting the system. So I can see how there would be different levels in Steam, where one is, the softest is, we've delisted the game so no one can buy it anymore. 2, we won't activate any licenses. So you've purchased it, you run it, and it says, sorry, failed to activate your game, or your license has expired after 7 days or 30 days or something. And that would be the equivalent of Apple killing the app. Steam are not just delisting it, but they are basically saying, no, you cannot play this game anymore, by just refusing to allow the licensing portion of the game to run. But that, I guess, only work. It depends on how the licensing for games work. Like, does the license go through Steam, or does the license go directly to the publisher? I don't really know. I presume the license goes through your reseller. So if you buy it on Steam, then your game will talk to Steam and Steam will talk to the publisher and activate your game. If you buy it through Xbox, a similar sort of thing will happen. But I don't actually know, to be honest, if they have that kind of power to unactivate a game, I guess, or if only the publisher can do that.
Let me ask you this, though. It's quite obvious that over the years, PlayStation haven't really been secure with their PlayStation Network and their infrastructure. They've had numerous hacking where people have stolen credit card information, debit card information, personal information. For myself, when you first join up to PlayStation, you have to give them an email, but that could be just any generic email just to sign up, and you can give them any phony information. But in order to pay for the games, you would have to give them your personal credit, like debit card or credit card information. Would you feel comfortable with that? Because they have had a lot of hacks and a lot of information stolen, so they'll be more vulnerable because they'll have a lot more people's information, and their cybersecurity hasn't really been great. Their track record has been quite terrible, unfortunately.
You could say the same about John Lewis. I think, didn't John Lewis have a big leak couple of years ago, and you could buy games through there? But I would say I think I'm less worried because I actually have my PayPal account linked, not my credit card. So I make purchases through PayPal. But then you could say maybe PayPal will get, and it's you can't. You can go through everything. Like Sony could get hacked and lose all your credit card details, but equally might be Tesco or Argos or Microsoft or Steam or PayPal or whoever. It is completely impossible to kind of negate all of it.
But there is a pattern where it's happened more than once. And it's the same mistakes again. And they said, okay, we're going to improve on our cybersecurity, but that hasn't actually taken place.
It probably has taken place, but most cybersecurity issues are at the human level, not the technical. I'm not going to like wave it away. There is only so much you can do at a technical level, and they probably just need to spend more time making sure their human level cybersecurity is in place. As someone who has actively led cybersecurity training, that most breaches come from the people, not the technology.
Well, but going back to your question about, okay, there's good things that we talked about, pretty much. I think we've.
Sorry, I'm not saying it's good. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying it's good. But why does Microsoft, why does Sony say this is a thing that they're doing? Like, what are they saying? What are they not saying? Like, why are they doing this?
Well, the big reason is money, because they're squeezing out the second-hand market. Because, like you said, they haven't come out and said, "Oh, right." If they came out and said, "Right, you can every purchase you make, you're going to get a digital ID, and then if you sell that digital ID, then that's going to get removed from your library." So that basically keeps the second-hand market alive. There's going to be an increase as well, where you've got a lot of websites with like CD keys. They'll be purchasing loads of keys, so you might be able to get it cheaper as well. But then there's lots of fraudulent activity happening there, so that's something to be.
And CD keys is harming other people, not Sony. So that's a really bad thing. But like, all the reasons are it's money all the way down. It's so they get to close their optical disc manufacturing plant. So they'll get rid of all the staff. They get rid of all the manufacturing costs. The quote unquote 30% that they take from a game to cover those costs, they will then take from digital sales, which will be basically profit at that point, because like you say, they're not spending any money on cybersecurity. They're going to save money on not putting the drives into your PlayStation. They're going to save money on not hiring all those people and the plants. They'll make more money from the digital sales. The one thing that I not worry about, the one thing I think about is the new car market only exists because the used car market exists, if that makes sense. And I wonder how much that is true for video games. I wonder how many people buy new and how many people buy used, and I wonder what that percentage is. And maybe the new purchases trends higher than we think it does.
Well, the one thing so what they said in their statement is that they've seen that digital sales are outselling physical sales.
Of new games, yes.
Yes.
Which completely ignores the used game market, obviously,
Yes,
because they have
exactly.
no control over that.
They have no control over that because they don't get their they don't get their cut out of it. That's fair enough. But they also didn't mention that physical. So currently, you've got a PlayStation 5 disc version, and you've got a PlayStation 5 an all digital version. And the PlayStation 5 disc version is outsold the PlayStation 5 digital version, and it costs more.
So people clearly aren't comfortable with only having digital consoles. What about the Microsoft S versus X? I know it's not them, but
Xbox. Sorry, say that again.
I wonder how the Xbox Series S versus X sales.
Oh, yeah, not sure.
But that's also realizing that it's not like for like, because the PlayStation 5 digital and disc are the same capabilities, whereas the S and the X are different levels.
The other thing that me personally, this is what I'm actually worried about, and it's not related to gaming as such, is that because there is no 4K Blu-ray drive going to be in the PlayStation 6, and most likely it's not going to be in the new Xbox, that will mean that the 4K Blu-ray market will shrink as well, because most people will not go out and buy a 4K Blu-ray player. They will just be like, well, I've got a PlayStation 5 that plays 4K Blu-rays. Oh, look, I've seen that there's a 4K Blu-ray of a movie I like. I might pick that up potentially. But now, with no disc drive, there's no chance of them picking that up, and it's basically shrink the audience even more. Currently,
So it's
you've
going
got
from mass market appeal to niche.
Yes, and my issue is that what's happening is that they're constantly there's independent like studios that are constantly going and bringing out older films, restoring them up to 4K standards, 4K Blu-ray, remastering. That's gonna eventually that's gonna be a very niche market, and it's gonna be a point where it's like, well, there's no point because no one's buying this. There's no point doing the restoration project for this unless they can sell it to like a streaming service, but that's another discussion. But it is a worry. Like physical Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays is like the ultimate quality, the best quality you can get out there. Yeah, but without a disk drive, the market for that will shrink.
And the problem is, I said it was mass market, but it really isn't. I think Blu-ray, physical media as a movie or TV media, is really dying. Like, people are just streaming more than ever now.
And if there's no disk drive, then that's that's even going to be even more. And it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks because it's like you know, your PlayStation 3, it could play CDs, it could play DVDs, it could play Blu-ray. The PlayStation 4, I think they skipped out on CD, but it could play DVD and Blu-ray.
Do you know why?
License? They own it. They own it.
I can tell you why.
Go on.
CD and DVD Blu-ray, they use different lasers. So if you want to have CD and DVD, you have to put two lasers in. It might be CD and DVD have the same, or DVD and Blu-ray have the same, but there's some combination where if you want all of them or both of them, you have to have multiple lasers, and that's the reason. It's a very boring reason, but that's why.
Fair enough. Sony own all of these discs, and it's kind of upsetting that they're the ones.
They own it? They made it with Philips.
Yeah, they own the Blu-ray and they own the 4K Blu-ray. And I think they own the CD as well. I think Microsoft
the CD they definitely made with Philips.
I
don't know about
Microsoft
the DVD and
they have to pay Sony. It's kind of funny because Xbox Series X has if you put a CD, it works, and it's like a really crappy app on there, but it does work. I think for that they have to pay Sony a license. So it's like, it's quite crazy. But then Sony are just like,
that's why Windows 10 doesn't include a DVD player anymore, because no one uses it. So they decided they didn't want to pay for the license in the copy of Windows. Also Windows was free at that point, so it made even less sense. But
yeah, I just think overall, go back to the overall subject. I think it's disappointing. It's not like we wasn't expecting it, but it was kind of. I felt like it was the way it was delivered as well. It was just like, yeah, by the way, it's basically they was like, okay, we're gonna hit you with this news, and then we're gonna hit you with that news, and they're gonna do it all together. So then it's all gonna be hit you all at once, and then hopefully you've got enough time to get it over and done with, and you're just gonna forget about it. But a lot of people are not happy that they've said that they're not gonna be purchasing a PlayStation 6. So, but we'll see. Because remember, like Xbox One back in like 2013, they were like DMR. You need to sign into this. You have to be always online. And basically, they saw the pre-order numbers and they're like, "Oh God, we've made a huge mistake." And then they backtracked.
Sony came out with that hilarious video.
Yeah, it's kind of funny now that it's like, this is how you share your games, and it's like that video doesn't really stand true now, does it? So
you might say it doesn't age well,
but we live in different times. You got to be fair as well. Like,
I think here's the thing: the biggest issue is financially, the world isn't in the best place. Inflation is skyrocketing. Prices of like the Steam machine, we've not even talked about this yet, but the price on that is awful. And this is not the environment to be saying, by the way, if you're poor and can't afford brand new games, well, f you. Which is kind of how it feels. Like it's like, oh, we only want the people who can afford to pay 90 quid for GTA 6, not the people who have to wait till it's on 50% sale. And like Sony just doesn't really seem to do sales as good as Steam does. Like they do sales all the time, but they're never interesting. They're just like whatever, like 25, 30%. And I'm not knocking that, but some games on Steam, like 90% off a game on Steam. Of course, I'll pay £2 for this game I'll never pay for. Like, why wouldn't I? You don't get that with PlayStation. So it's not a great environment to be releasing that kind of news. But maybe they're doing that ahead of even worse news that's going to come out next year sometime.
I think they're doing it now. So it's like, if they did it at the time, it will be, and then they say, okay, and they release it.
It will take over the story, but at least if they do it ahead of time, we're going to talk about it now instead of when it comes out.
Yeah, they're managing it. It's like, okay, this is, PlayStation 6 is going to be an all digital console. Instead of saying it right like 2-3 months or 5 months before the actual thing releases, they're getting ahead of the curve, and they're like, okay, and that's why they said, and that's why they brought the PlayStation 3 as well. They were like, okay, this is going to be happening as well. Let's just hit them with let's just get it all out in the open. This is all happening. You're not going to like it, but maybe time will heal.
Time will heal enough for it to not be the biggest story at the time. But hey, look, that's why Apple removed the headphone jack on the iPhone 7, so that when they brought out the 10 a year later, which was going to be their new big all singing, all dancing, everyone had talked to death about the headphone jack or the lack of headphone jack, and they would only talk about the good stuff about the new phone. So it's a proven marketing strategy.
Let me ask you right now, if a PlayStation 6 did come out, would you buy it?
No.
Even if it was decently priced?
But not for the reasons you're expecting. I have a PS5 Pro, and there's no games that are coming out that are going to require me to upgrade.
Unless it's GTA 6.
Well, no, because the PlayStation 6 won't come out before that date. I don't think the PlayStation 6 will come out before the 28th January 2028.
I think it will.
I don't think it will.
Well, no, it won't. Because it doesn't. You make sense because because otherwise, if it was before that, there will be a disc version, I guess. So yeah,
exactly. So I think maybe they said, what did they say? January 2028. So maybe the earliest we'll see it is like March of 2028. But no, if I had a PlayStation 5 standard, maybe. But the reasons I'm not looking into it is that GTA 6 is coming out now, and I've got a PS5 Pro for it, so I'm fine in that regards. Horizon 3, whatever that's going to be called, I think will run fine on the PS5 Pro. I don't see a reason to upgrade. So I'm at the point where I will upgrade to the PS6 Pro at this point. Maybe, here's a thought.
Get it on PC. No, it won't come out on PC.
It's not coming out on PC because they've ended those.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to Xbox, because PlayStation have really floundered the
I
last
don't know
couple
about
of
that.
years.
Xbox have, I don't know if you heard about all the layoffs that are currently happening and the restructuring. And
Yes, but that's in the games, not in the hardware.
yeah, we have to wait and see, Marcus. I'm not.
But
I think
it's all going to come down to the exclusives, because I think we do seem to play more exclusive these days than games that are everywhere. GTA and Red Dead are like the only multi-platform games that we're really playing. Everything else does seem to be exclusives, but no, I don't really foresee getting a PlayStation 6 at the moment.
yeah, for myself, I will probably just look at the prices on the PlayStation Store when it does come out and be like, no,
You'll just wait till I cave and get one, so you can buy my PlayStation 5 Pro.
No, I'm not gonna. I
You
won't
don't.
buy a PS5 Pro. I
You
won't
don't.
buy
You
that.
don't. I mean, why? Like, why would you? I mean, why wouldn't you? Because you don't. You certainly don't own a PlayStation 5 anywhere, do you?
No, that's true. I don't own a PlayStation 5. Thank you for reminding
No
me.
PlayStation 5s owned by Tommy Hall at all.
Do you want to put my address out there as well?
Tommy Hall of.
Nah, no. But one last thing I will say that it's quite upsetting to me is that I watch a lot of people who do game collecting on YouTube, and they're obviously hit hard the most because there's not going to be any. To them, it's just that's it.
It's going to
Like,
end. No games after 2027 for them.
and so essentially, it's like I don't know what their channel is. It might just be fully retro, but how long is that? Like they're always like talking about new discussions, new games, and stuff like that as well. But
the thing is, it's like they will be fine. CEX will be fine because the quote unquote retro market be around. Like GameCube. When did the GameCube come out?
2002.
How long ago was that?
24 years.
Okay, so 2028 plus 24 is 2042.
Yeah.
They'll be fine until 2050 at the earliest, because they'll have PlayStation 5 games in 2050. GameCube games will still run in 2050. I think there's going to be a bit of a dark ages. So it's like, like in history, we know about the Egyptians and we know about the Victorians, but there's like the dark ages. I think there'll be a similar thing in gaming, where it's like PlayStation 5, then there's all the games in the middle that won't activate online, and then there's games at the end that kind of do work. So that's probably what I will expect to see.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's I won't be able to afford it. I won't be able to afford the console, and I won't be able to afford the games. So I will be just sticking to my retro stuff and catching up with PlayStation 5 if I eventually get one.
If you eventually get one.
That concludes our podcast for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for instant reminders on anything that we produce. Goodbye. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Are you in your hotel then?
I'm in a hotel.
It's very quiet.
Well, I've got noise cancelling headphones on.
Oh, same, yeah.
Right, can you see?
I can't. I'm not looking at your screen. Sorry,
I've just put a webcam on.
Yeah, I see now. I see you. I can see you. I can see your hand.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. That room looks really nice. It looks really nice.
That's the iPhone that's doing the main recording, and I've got it propped up between cushions and pillows. But yeah, this is my suite. I have two TVs.
Yeah, able to take the HDMI out and then plug it into like a.
Yeah, but the TVs are crap, and the it does processing on the HDMI, so it's like 30 frames in, but then it does a soap opera effect. So there's a delay on the video feed, but the audio and HDMI and video are out of sync, so it's unusable. And the TVs are locked down in hotel mode, so I can't do anything about it with the remote that comes with them.
How long is it going to take you to get home? Like it's like 5, 6 hours, isn't it, from
It's
Wales?
not quite 5, 6 hours, but it was long enough that I didn't want to go home tonight. So, um, in perfect conditions, it is 3 hours, but I know that I will stop once or twice, and I would also stop for dinner. So yes, it would have been 4 to 5 hours of traveling. So if I left I think I left site at like 5, half 5. So that meant I'd be home at like 9, 10 o'clock tonight, which I know some. I know some people would be like, I would rather just go home, but I have air conditioning in the hotel and I don't have air conditioning at home, so I'm actually kind of preferring to be here. Don't tell Jen, but
Yeah. Peace and
so
quiet as well. I would like that, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have children, and I do still like my wife and dog. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no. The thing is, it's like how you drive whatever all around the south, though, isn't it?
it's all over the country. The whole South thing's not happened.
Oh,
Um,
really? Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I'm going to Winchester in a couple of weeks, but I think the next one after that's going to be East Yorkshire, sort of like Whitby and
East Yorkshire. So that means like you have to drive. You have to go up the M1 for like 4 hours.
well, Yorkshire's actually not that far. Yorkshire's probably quicker to get to than Wales. It's like 3 hours up the
Yeah,
road. Up the road.
up the M1. Do you like the traveling though? All the travel.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, but I mean, I'll say it's been 3 months. Like we started this properly in March, April. So like, give it 2 years, I might start getting fed up and tired. But at the moment, I'm enjoying the travel. I'm enjoying being out and about.
It's
I've
the
been
hotels
to
as well. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Like you get everything paid for, a meal. You get
yeah,
your meal paid for.
yep, be reasonable. But it's like I was in the Isle of Wight the other week. That was lovely. I spent £150 in like food.
But you didn't pay for it. You get it reimbursed.
Yeah, like I paid for it and then claimed it back. So
But
yeah.
that's annoying though, because like, what'd you
Hey,
do?
look, it could be worse. I have a fuel card for the van, so I don't have to pay and claim for the fuel. If I had to pay and claim for the fuel, I'd basically have to like keep like £300 in reserve at all times, and that's not how I run my bank.
I wouldn't be able to afford that.
Well, it's not affordability because yeah, it is paid back, but I'm paying £100 to £150 a trip instead of 150 to 300.
Yeah, you're not gonna get it back till next month. Not the.
No, they pay back weekly, so I get paid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so obviously my salary is paid monthly, but expenses are paid every Friday.
That's not too bad then. That's fine then.
Yeah, it's really good. So as long as I get my expenses in by like Monday, I'll have it by Friday.
No, that's yeah, there's no reason to complain, really, is there?
No.
No. If I have to flip and claim for expense like the train, at one point I had to get the train, and they were like, okay, they didn't issue me a rail warrant for some reason, so I had to pay it out of my own pocket. I had to claim it back, and I don't get it on that month. I get it next month.
Oh, so it could be like 6 to 7 weeks or something.
Yeah, to be fair, it only cost like 20 quid, but yeah, I
But
still
like
wanted.
20 quid once is fine, but that if you have to do that often, it does add up.
Yeah, so like it's 40 quid a week, like because there's 2 days each week, so 40 times four. How much is that? That's like so 4 times 4 is
120?
16.
Oh,
So
160?
160. Yeah, 160 quid a month.
The thing is, because my job is to be constantly away, so the way I run my bank account, I'm not going to run it. I'm not going to tell you exactly, but I keep as little money in my bank account as possible. Like I want it all budgeted for or in savings. So I always feel poor, if that makes sense. Like it feels like there's no money in my account, but that's because it's either assigned to a bill or it's already gone into my savings account. But because I'm spending money this week, the fact that when I get home tomorrow, I'll do my expenses, then that will be back in my account next Friday. I have to make sure I've got that money available to spend, but ultimately I will get it back. So it's not a huge problem. I just have to be able to buy it in the first instance. So
Maybe just you could get a credit card.
I have considered this, but it just feels like a lot of hoops to constantly go through.
Well, you just need to make sure that you don't owe anything. You could get a 0% one for like 17 months or something, and then you could say, "Oh, I want to borrow. Yeah, I just want to borrow like £3,000," and they'll
I
give
wouldn't
you
even
that.
need that, like 750, like, or 500 quid. I really wouldn't need a large amount because
I don't think they would do such a small amount. I think they want you to
no,
have
they
a
do,
large
they
amount.
do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
could do that, but then after the I don't know how it works because then
I think the issue I have is whether it would automatically get paid the correct amount or if I have to manually make those payments, which I don't want to do. I would want it to all be automatic, which I don't. They
no, you
won't.
have to,
They won't want it automatic. They want it to roll over, so I have to pay interest. So,
yeah. So you have to do it
but
manually.
you're not wrong. Like I should do it. You know, it's the sort of thing that would look good to build up my credit. But I will say, like my credit score at the moment is very high. It's like 1,020 or something. So it's like I think it's like one bracket down from as high as you can get. I'm not worried about credit cards from that sense, and I don't see the benefit from a financial managing sense at the moment.
So I'm paying off. So I had to pay for the kitchen.
On the credit card, how long are you paying that off for?
So it's 17 or 18 months.
That's effectively a loan then.
Yeah. So 0%, but then after that 17. So after that 7. Basically, it's like it recommends. It's kind of weird. It's like, oh, we recommend you pay this, and it's like 65 quid. I'm like, if I just pay you 65 quid a month, there's no way of me actually going to be paying this off without going over the 0%. So I've been paying like, I don't know, 250 quid, 350 quid. I think I still got like pretty much a year left to go, which isn't bad.